Good morning. This is Martin Drummond with Progressive News. It's Thursday, October 3rd, 2013. And more than anybody who ever went to school, and especially since I don't really cover these things in school, I have studied the controversial, subjects, issues of our time. And I've been around since 1960, so I know about a lot of them that young people wouldn't think about unless they see it on the internet. And, I've spent more time. I never studied this hard in school. Never. And nor did I absorb as much, even when I did study, because a lot of what they teach you in school is bullshit. They're just filling up books so that they can say they taught you something. So, 9/11, since my dad was in Saudi Arabia and working with Osama bin Laden to raise the Mujahideen to go to Afghanistan, and we all know how that worked out, right? Obviously, I became very interested in terrorism. As much as I could, I investigated the people who were around my dad, so his boss and other people, and found out that, like his boss sat on one of the banks that is accused of facilitating Al-Qaeda, right? Which, when he was in Afghanistan fighting the Russians, this was all a good thing, And I've explained to you in previous episodes at least twice how I met Osama bin Laden on the plane on the way to Saudi Arabia, because my dad set it up. There's no way that two people end up all the way in the back of a 747 in the tail section alone, side by side. We're sitting. It's like, come on. When you book a plane, you don't put two people in a room with 30 chairs who don't know each other and have them set side by side. There's all kinds of room, right? A lot of shit has happened like that in my life. They weren't coincidences, they were setups. And what else do you expect from a dad who's in intelligence, right? Constantly setting things up. It's what he did. So, of course, I've studied 9/11 and everything related to it. And what I have to tell you is that 9/11 was set up, organized, recruited, and everything by the 19 people who did it. And they're all dead. And they set it up that way on purpose. Now, did anybody outside try to help them? Well, we don't know. Were they sent money? Yeah, but when you're in, if you've got ultra wealthy, so you have to ask yourself, okay, so when Bandar Bush's wife sends Muhammad Atta $100,000 through a CIA front bank, and it's facilitated by a Bush. There was a Bush who was president of the bank or whatever, and she personally called him and asked him to make sure that, Muhammad Atta got the money. So, what is Muhammad Atta to Bandar Bush's wife? Well, they obviously know each other pretty well. She's in the government. Maybe somebody asked her to send him the money. What I'm saying is when I'm in a foreign country and I'm trying to learn how to fly and stuff, which, the reason that they didn't catch him is because it's not illegal to go to countries and train. I mean, people are being trained to fly all day long. So it didn't trigger any red flags. Now it probably would, but it didn't back then. And then you have to ask, okay, who sent them the money and why? And would it seem unusual? Because, he's in the country, he needs money. It's logical that somebody from his country would send him the money. Now, so I'm saying they're all dead, right? So, let's say that somebody outside of the country did organize it and, they're still alive after the deed is done. Okay, so we caught Muhammad whoever, right? And we tortured the shit out of him and waterboarded him 99 times or whatever it was. Committed war crimes by doing so, crimes against humanity. Everybody knows that torture is not, somebody could use it here and there and get away with it or not get away with it, and we know that we don't want to be responsible for it, and therefore, because we pay taxes, we don't want anybody in our government doing it, the police or anybody. I would just rather suffer the consequences of bad people getting out or not being caught. Sooner or later they're going to get caught. Look at that's part of the problem too. If people do bad things to try and catch people and stuff, then karma's going to, the balance is out of whack, and it's going to come back into whack against them. So you don't want that. I've seen it happen a million times. Okay, so, but what I'm trying to prove here is that we definitely have hurt innocent people, tortured innocent people, in this rampage to find out who did 9/11. Because guess what? This is the third guy, okay? We killed bin Laden. Okay, and I have yet to see the proof that he was actually involved with, the bombings across Africa, the Kenyan embassy, I think, and whatever. The embassy bombings. They were horrendous. And I would be willing to bet that somebody like Al-Shabaab or whatever, who's the other ones? Anyway, there's all kinds of crazy... these are groups that are run by sheep herders, who are illiterate and just believe in the Quran, or some kind of fucking crazy version of Islam. It's like talking to a hillbilly who hasn't been out of his holler for 30 years. They're crazy. And I can see they come out, they get all these people together, and they whatever, But so we've killed bin Laden. These are just the ones that I know of. And Muhammad, whoever, the guy who they waterboarded 99 times. It's like, how many guys are we going to kill and blame them for 9/11? And here's another one. Well, this guy, and let me tell you, just looking at him for 2 seconds there, I know that he's evil, that he's an asshole, he's hurt lots of people, and he's being nominated for what? Secretary of State for Civilian Security Democracy. Under Secretary of State. Anyway, so this guy, and yeah, I gotta get his face off the screen. He's just, you're talking about the devil. One of his demons.
This guy is a torturer. So this guy should be in prison, and he should be charged and convicted, and I should be invited as a witness. But instead he is defending human rights.
He was never charged.
I was exposed to extreme temperature, very cold temperature. I was sexually assaulted. I was sleep deprived, of course, because I wasn't allowed to sleep. And I was beat badly. I broke several ribs.
A series of recommendations to the Security Council today, which are very much in line with how the administration and the Treasury Department have already.
They brought me letters from the Pentagon that approved the arrest of my mother, and citing the allegation that I was the recruiter of the 9/11 hijackers. They make it.
So here's a third guy who's, how many guys have they tortured, claiming that they're, the guys behind 9/11? And of course they can't be allowed to do this. Well, they did it. It's too late. And we don't even hear about it. And it's time for the people of the United States. I don't care if you want to, try and convict somebody based on the evidence and throw them in jail for life in some maximum supermax prison. I don't care, but open it up to the public and let the public see what you're doing at all courts and everything. Let us be able to watch it, and let us be able to weigh in on it. If we can see it happening, then put up an address and a phone number or an email or something so that we can all get together. Like, you could have a forum with a thread just for that court case, there aren't going to be that many cases for things this big. And let Americans watch it on YouTube, watch the proceedings, and if you get a whole lot of people saying, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. I mean, it always comes back to me. Like, I would love it if everybody could see my court case where they threw me in jail, because I know I'm innocent, and let them weigh in on it. At this point I'm trying to get my appeal, and of course they're not going to, because they're just going to confirm, because they have complete control. They simply can say, no, we confirm the original ruling. Well, they're not dealing with the fact that there's reasonable doubt as to whether I was talking to the person who they claim I threatened, which I didn't. I wasn't talking to her. And then there's, of course, the argument that I was not threatening her, even if I was talking to her, which I wasn't. But, so, let people watch it and weigh in, guilty, not guilty opinion. On cases, now I'm talking about like with him. I mean, I'm saying for me, because just like in my case, I used myself as an example, so I was using myself as an example. But same thing with him. Let's see of course he's not going to have a court case, right? Because they never tried him. But, put him on and have people give all the facts and then ask, so would you keep him in detention for an indefinite amount of time? I mean, how many years? And let them weigh in. At least by doing that, you'd have somebody who doesn't have a horse in the, probably can't find somebody who doesn't have a horse in the race, but people of differing opinions, so that you can, maybe I'm not fond of the jury system. It convicted me when I was innocent, and I think that the same way that they brainwash people and then they ask them to have an opinion. They brainwash people and then they let them vote. And in that respect, the jury system doesn't work. I think the best system would be for people who are trained. I mean, like in my case, certainly somebody has to understand reasonable doubt. Let them watch 5 seasons of Boston Legal. No, seriously. If there's a show out there that's entertaining that does explain the principles behind law, so let them watch something that teaches them those principles. Reasonable doubt. I mean, it's a fantasy world, right? It's a fake show, but at least it does teach you the real things. And in real life, you can't learn them because they're always fucking it up, like they did in my case, like they're doing in his case. Or maybe they're not. How do we know? We never got to find out, right? He might be guilty. If we looked at the facts, we might find out he's guilty. But we don't get to. So, I am for expert juries. Juries who understand the law, and of course for laws that are actually reality based, right? That are fair to people. I mean, reasonable doubt is obvious. If you don't have proof that a person is guilty, and I'm not talking about proof because, like, when you get down to it, you can't prove anything, but reasonable based on, it's based on the idea that the world is real, and you know, basic ideas, apply. Anyway, so obviously 3 different people couldn't have committed, unless they were all working together. But I don't think that these people even knew each other. I don't know how close he was to any of the Sheikh Mohammed or Osama bin Laden, and that's just it, right? I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing about this, and 9/11 was, 18 years ago or something? So much. And even the media doesn't do a good job. I mean, they said that we learned so much when they released the 25 pages from the report on 9/11. What 25 pages? I haven't seen them. When are they going to release them and make it public? You need to announce it in the news. I heard that I didn't hear anything about it. And if so, why aren't they splashed all over why aren't they in my news sources? I heard that Bush didn't release the reports on the Kennedy assassination on time. And if they did, then where are they? And when they do release stuff, it's all redacted. I get it. I know all these people are all just doing everything in their own interest. And so, and I'm glad I'm just a regular person. I'm not like special, don't have the ability to read all these things, because then I know how all of you are treated, right? This guy, I can listen to him, and I know he's not an honest person. I don't know what he's guilty of in terms of 9/11 and other things, but he's not honest. And that's just my opinion. But I do have a sense for these things. When I watch videos, especially, I mean, in real life I'm conflicted because I got all kinds of things going on around me. It damages my ability to be able to sense truth sense, But on videos I know. So, this guy's going on like this, and I'm sure he's full of shit. I mean, I'm sure he's telling a lot of truth. Maybe 99%. But overall, he's he's guilty of something. Yeah. Who knows what he actually did? I'm sure we have some kind of evidence, but who knows what it is. So there's the other side of it from me. I always have two sides. There's always a little bit on either side that you can see. And I see him, I wouldn't trust him any farther than I could throw him, which is about an inch. So, but does he deserve to be in Guantanamo all that time? I don't know. If you can't get what you want out of him in 6 months, a year, And even that's illegal, right? That's why we do it in Guantanamo. But, yeah, I don't think it's right, you know. This is Martin Drummond with Progressive News. Thanks for watching.